Hey everyone, this is Jeff Risdon from the Detroit Lions podcast and Lions Wire. And Chris and I can't do a live show this week, so you're getting a couple of solo episodes from me. And this is the first one. We got a lot to talk about, namely number one seed, burying the Vikings on Sunday night, winning the NFC North again, going 15-2. There's so much to be excited about as a Lions fan. Let's go. All right. Recording this Monday. I'm incredibly sleep deprived after staying up Sunday night, watching the Lions thrash the Vikings 31-9. As frequent watchers and followers of mine on social media know, I have about 3 to 5 hours of work to do after every game. Well, the last night's game didn't end until after 11. I went to bed at about 3:45 this morning. I was back up at about 8:15. And I've been going nonstop since. I am incredibly buzzed on nothing but Lions juices, baby. What a night. What a game. What a masterful defensive performance from Aaron Glenn. And the Lions defensive players doing what he needed them to do. Amik Robertson, unbelievable coverage throughout the game, whether it was on Justin Jefferson or Jordan Addison. Terrion Arnold, the best I've seen him cover for an extended period all season. He's had games like where he's been pretty good at certain times, and other times he's a little vulnerable and guessy. I thought he was really, really consistent last night, and that's exactly what they needed. And we'll give a little injury update on him later too, but it's looking like it's not going to be super serious. Fingers crossed. Trust Dr. Liao on that, of course. So go for my word, because he's really good at it. But you'll get something on that later. But it looks like he should be able to play. He certainly thinks he can play. But Alex Anzalone's return was huge. Huge to have 34 back. And I tweeted about it. I put it up on my Blue Sky account. Early in the game, there was a play, and it was something that they were not able to physically even try to do when Alex Anzalone wasn't in the game. When guys like Quan Alexander or Ezekiel Turner or Jamal Adams, any of those guys, they're not capable of doing what happened on this specific play. Easy for me to say. Again, I'm tired. You have to bear with me. Oh, see the saddlebags under my eyes too. Oh boy. Yeah, great. There was a play. It was a 2nd and 9. I remember that. And it was a play where the Vikings were in shotgun and TJ Hawkinson was lined up tight, and Anzalone was like sort of over top and was like getting blocked like he was going to rush, but he didn't really like get sucked into the rush. Campbell found the B gap, charged in, and blitzed at Darnold. Darnold thought that his release would be Hawkinson releasing out into a short cross, but Anzalone came from out of nowhere, picked him up right away. It was a seamless transition between appearing to have Campbell covering Hawkinson and having Anzalone covering him. And they both did a great job on the play. And that's the sort of coordination and high-end, intricacy that Aaron Glenn hasn't been able to do. And you saw that last night. There was a lot of examples of Anzalone's return of facilitating Aaron Glenn being more creative and more aggressive. And I don't want to give too many flowers to Alex Anzalone, because there were a couple of plays where he got beat, but just overall, he was really good in his return, and his overall presence allowed Aaron Glenn to be at his best. And Amik again deserves a ton of credit. I thought DJ Reader had an outstanding game. I'm not sure he had a stat other than one tackle, but every time Darnold wanted to step forward into the pocket to establish himself, from a side rush or whatever, He couldn't because Reader had pushed his guy back. And the Vikings have a pretty darn good offensive line, especially on the interior. Reader reset that line backwards in the passing game so frequently. That's one of the reasons why Darnold was skittish, why he wasn't sure with his footing, and why he was terrible. There's no other way to say it. I think Vikings fans are saying it louder than we are here in Lions land. Just a great game from Reader. And this is exactly why they got DJ Reader, because he does the little things that literally don't show on the stat sheet, but they make the entire defense that much better. He's done a pretty good job of doing that all year. I thought last night he did a great job at it. And I haven't looked at the PFF grades or anything from it yet. I don't know how they felt about it. I thought he played a great game. I thought Terrion played a great game. Amik, can't say enough about Amik. Go back in time and see how I talked him up when we first got him as a free agent. I love the guy. I've loved him since he was at Louisiana Tech. I am a noted sucker for undersized cornerbacks who have a large fight to size of dog ratio. You better believe that's Amik Robertson. Just playing outside, so good. He's better there. I think he played fine in the slot this year. Like I was pleasantly surprised at how well he did. You saw in the Minnesota game, he's a natural outside guy. He's just small, and didn't let it bother him. Look, he's got that history with Jefferson. Didn't impact him at all. Like he was there. Jefferson 3 catches, 9 or 10 targets. T.J. Hawkinson, old friend. 2 catches, 9 yards on 9 targets. Dropped 1, maybe 2 of them. Had 1 overturned. I think they will call that a drop. I don't know. That was a pretty bad throw by. I actually hope they don't credit that as a drop for Hawkinson. But he was completely ineffective. And you give Jack Campbell, Alex Anzalone. There were a couple times when Trevor Nowatzki appeared to be on him as well. If you ask him, Malifonwu was involved in some of that. They did a great job of taking away the easy throws from Darnold. And then when he got some, he missed them. Every time. 1st and goal at the 7. 4 plays, 4 incompletions. 1st and goal at the 4. A run that did nothing, 3 incompletions. 2 of them were plays that they probably should have scored touchdowns on because they had beaten the coverage, but Darnold couldn't deliver the ball. And this was, it's interesting because there are some parallels between where Sam Darnold is at with the Vikings and where Jared Goff was back in 2022. Not the first year that he was in Detroit, but the second year, where he had started to emerge and we're like, okay, you know what? We probably got something here. Like, all right, our GM and head coach knew what they were talking about. And for most of the season, Darnold has been the 2023 Goff, a guy who was really, really good, a worthy Pro Bowler. Fit like a glove into Kevin O'Connell's offense, which is sort of an offshoot of the Shanahan system, but isn't quite there either. They do some things that are a little bit different, quite a bit different actually with their tight ends. But it was refreshing that the other team wilted instead of Detroit. And I don't mean that as a disparagement for how well Detroit played, because I think a lot of the wilting was forced by the heat from the Lions. But this Lions team was ready for the big game. They were prepared. They understood what they needed to do to get a W. They weren't in awe of the moment. It wasn't too big for them, for any of them. And they went out and got it done. And for that, we have a bye week. We are hosting every playoff game we will play in until we're in New Orleans for the Super Bowl on February 9th. Really, I don't want to say I'm expecting to be there, but this will be the first time that I will be really disappointed if they don't make it, because I do think that they are the best team in the NFC. I think they could be the best team in the NFL. Look, there's a lot of good football teams left. The Lions are at the top of that list. Playoff games are funky. You never know what's going to happen, but this is a year that we can do it. Just an exciting night, man. I'm glad that we all got to experience that. Chris and Ash doing a post-game show, celebrating the victory. Look, all the anxiety that we had about the defense and, will Goff be able to rise up? Will we be able to get done with just Jahmyr Gibbs? Look, we won a game last night where our offensive line had his worst half of the year in the first half. They still got it done, man. Like, they just find ways. They have so many different paths to victory. Vikings couldn't match that. Whoever they play next can't match that. Not that way. If the Lions don't let them, Lions aren't going to lose. It's a fun place to be. Let's get into a little bit of the extraneous stuff beyond the football game. You can read my analysis from it at Lions Wire. I'm doing a video breakdown. Again, this is Monday. Tuesday is film day. Look for that. Some breakdowns and film work on that will be up at Lions Wire on Tuesday, Wednesday, depending on how much time we get done. I am also working a lot on draft stuff, background stuff from our work with Draft Wire. We will have a Lions mock draft at some point, probably not before their first playoff game. We're not really thinking about the draft anyways. Picking 32nd, it takes a little bit of one of the sales out of it. But for those of you who do need your draft itch scratched, we gotcha. Sounds like Bish and Brown are working on some stuff there too. But let's go talk about the NFC playoffs. We don't know who the Lions are going to play yet. They're going to play the lowest remaining seed that wins this weekend. So Green Bay, Washington. If Green Bay wins against Philadelphia, Packers will be coming. I can't do it with a straight face. Sorry. Probably won't be the Packers. Put it that way. Washington plays Tampa Bay. Washington can beat Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay is the better football team, and they look. I gotta say this about Tampa Bay because we talk a lot about culture and how strong it is, and why that's a driving force in how the Lions win. If you watched the Buccaneers and playing the Saints, the way that they responded to Mike Evans getting his 11th 1,000-yard season, that's culture, man. Nothing but respect for that for the Buccaneers, and that's how they thrive. That's how they're gonna be dangerous. But they're also vulnerable. So that's a game I can see Washington winning. I will pick Tampa Bay to win, but I can see Washington winning that game. So if Washington were to win, they're coming to Ford Field. If neither of those two teams win, then it will be the winner of the Monday night game between Minnesota and the Los Angeles Rams. And just my quick early impression on it, I have no freaking clue who's going to win that game. I don't really have a rooting interest in either one of them. I am not afraid of the Vikings because the way that Brian Flores continues to try to defend Jared Goff and Ben Johnson is never going to work. And he's not been smart to figure that. They've scored over 30 points 4 times in 4 games against them. Goff has been unreal. Last night was his worst game against Minnesota. They still put up 31. He threw a couple of interceptions. The JMO one was like a functional arm punt. It was. I didn't like it. It was weird, but it didn't ultimately come back to bite him. The first interception and then the dropped pick 6 by Van Ginkel, that does concern me some. But also now the Lions are aware that this is how they're going to play a little bit better. Van Ginkel's good, man. Good player. And I think he's a guy that can give Stafford some problems. So my early lean is that if Sam Darnold can pull his head out of the Ford Field turf, I think they can probably win, but the Rams are tough, man, and they're getting healthier. And remember, they had a lot of injuries throughout the season. That young defense has come together very nicely. We all thought, I certainly did, Aaron Donald retiring, a couple other players going away, that their defense wasn't going to be legit. They nailed it with Jared Verse and Braden Fiske with their first 2 picks. Those guys have been great. Either one of them will be formidable coming into Ford Field. I'm going to pick the Lions to win. But it's going to be interesting to see who winds up coming through in that. And just one logistical note on it, because that game is Monday night. If neither the Packers or the Commanders win, if the Buccaneers and the Eagles win, and they're going to be heavy favorites. Eagles are certainly going to be heavy favorites depending on Jordan Love's status, but who knows what's going on with that. And they lost Christian Watson, and they are mentally soft and poorly coached. They gave away a game through the Bay. Again, how can you not laugh at the Packers and how their season ended? My God. Just a travesty. Good for the Bears for getting a win. Fighting back. Caleb Williams actually looked pretty darn good at the end of that game. I give him a lot of credit on that. Some of that was facilitated by the Packers letting them do whatever they wanted to do because their defensive coach is a moron. And I'm not worried about the Packers. As long as Matt LaFleur is the coach of the Green Bay Packers, as a Lions fan, I am not worried about the Green Bay Packers. Doesn't matter who's on that team. And we have better talent than them at just about every position now, too. But they are not big game ready. And I don't see LaFleur ever making that jump. Sorry, Packers fans who like to troll and look in. Y'all got to look it up at a couple of teams and going to be there for a while, too, unfortunately for you. Good for us. But I'm intrigued by the storyline of Sam Darnold getting a redemption shot 2 weeks later after arguably the biggest fizzle of his career. But I also think that the Lions offense is going to play a lot better in the next game. Look, that offensive line, they were rough last night. And some of that goes on Ben Johnson. Why are you asking Taylor Decker to cut inside and pick up a backside linebacker, and Graham Glasgow to pull around the outside to get a guy who's starting outside but running it? Like, I'm talking about the dive block that Glasgow completely whiffed on in the first. Like, yes, that's a bad play by Glasgow, but that's just not a good design. You've got to have everything so perfectly choreographed, and the defense, by the way, has to be somewhat complicit in that too, for those sorts of things to work. And they do a lot of the time, and that's to Ben Johnson's credit. But when they don't work, it's ugly. And I'm proud of Ben Johnson for adapting to that. I thought the second half blocking plan, again, I got to look at this on film to verify it, but I was talking with Ross Brown about this in a little private conversation, and he agreed. He thought they simplified the blocking scheme a little bit in the second half, and that helped the Lions a lot. And let's hope they learn from that. It was a fun game. That was fun. So I'm not worried about that first game. I'm gonna respect any team that comes in here. Look, you made the playoffs. You can win. It's been proven time and again. 7 seeds can win a game. Probably not 2. 5 seeds can win a lot of games. Tampa Bay won a Super Bowl that way. I believe the Saints did too. Like, it's their, like, Minnesota, their 14-3 that's not a fluke. They do not match up well with the Lions, but that doesn't mean it's going to be easy to beat them a third time. In Los Angeles, Matthew Stafford coming back for what could be the last game of his career. Playing in Detroit. He's got Nakua, got Kupp, got their offensive line fairly stabilized. Like, they're going to be able to put up some points, and they do have some young defense. I think the Lions are going to be ready and willing and composed enough to handle that. But it was certainly been an interesting game, and it's certainly an interesting storyline. For those of you who bought the Detroit Rams shirts with the Stafford on them. Burn those, folks. Burn them. But we'll see. It'll be fun. Get to the Super Bowl. We're talking about this. If the Lions are fortunate enough to get to the Super Bowl, and I will tell you right now, I do expect them to get there. Doesn't mean that they're going to, but they are the best team in the NFC. Not a shot at Philly, not a shot at Minnesota. The Lions, they earned that 1 seed. You got to come through Detroit. Not going to be easy to knock the Lions off. There's no reason the Lions can't beat any team that comes out of the AFC. Doesn't mean they will. Buffalo won in Detroit. Good football team. The guy I think should be MVP and Josh Allen. Take Josh Allen off that Bills team. How many wins they got? Take Lamar Jackson off the Ravens. They probably don't have any wins either, but I think they have more than the Bills do. Take Jared Goff off the Lions. How many wins do the Lions have? Probably not a playoff team. Maybe. With all the injuries, though, probably not. Going to be an interesting MVP. By the way, I have to turn my ballot in for that fairly soon, and I haven't voted yet. I will publish my ballot for that, by the way, for all y'all to see. And we'll talk about it. Chris and I will talk about that the next time we get live, because I will definitely have it turned in by then. But I am a voter for that, PFWA, Pro Football Writers Association of America, I think. I don't know. I've been a member for 15 years. I should probably go what the acronym stands for. Again, I'm tired. I apologize about that. But we'll get through that. And that was one of the things that I did want to talk about is Dan Campbell as Coach of the Year. And I see all these people, clapping back that's not what they vote for. Folks, I'm a voter. I know a lot of voters. We're not necessarily beholden to taking the team that does the best we didn't expect it to be the best. And that actually didn't happen last year. D'Amico Ryans didn't win with Houston. Dan Campbell didn't win with Detroit. Not that I think people thought that they were going to be bad, but I think that both of those teams were a lot better than they expected. Kevin Stefanski won last year. Why did Kevin Stefanski win last year? And this is my opinion, but I've talked to some fellow voters about it. By the way, I voted for Dan last year. He won my vote over D'Amico at the last second. Tough choice. One of the reasons that a couple of different people, and one of them covers the Bengals, which they're not exactly Browns fans, gave for justifying why they voted for Kevin Stefanski last year was because he navigated the Browns through injuries to being better than they should have been. Navigated the Browns through injuries to be better than they should have been. Sound like the Lions? Sound like Dan Campbell? I think he's a shoo-in myself. I really do. Sean Payton's a great candidate in Denver. What he's done, turning that team around, getting Bo Nix to be where he's at already as a rookie, guy's pretty good. I think Dan Quinn in Washington is going to get some votes. I think Jim Harbaugh will probably split the Harbaugh-loving vote. They both did good jobs. I think they're both going to win this weekend. I do. That's, by the way, going to set up a Harbaugh Bowl the second weekend of the playoffs, which will be fun. As much crap as I gave Jim Harbaugh as the coach of the Michigan Wolverines, I do really like him, and I like the fact that he's so different and so much an individual. I have a great appreciation for that. I have nothing but respect for the Ravens organization, so that's going to be a fun one. Some months ago, if you asked me, I would have said Mike Tomlin was probably the coach of the year, but this got forwarded to me in a message. The Steelers were the 4th worst team in football since December 1st. And if you watched their last game, you kind of know why. God, they're bad. They made the playoffs. I think it's going to be a short stint for them, but chaos can happen. But there's your coach of the year candidates. Philly, sure. think everybody expected them to be where they are. I think Saquon Barkley probably deserves some MVP candidate. Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. Lions individual awards, and a lot of people got uppity about, Kirby Joseph getting snubbed from the Pro Bowl, and he's certainly belonged. But I don't really put that as a slight on Kirby as much as it's a flawed Pro Bowl. I mean, the Pro Bowl in itself they don't even play the freaking game anymore. Like, it's an honorary vacation to Orlando for guys' families. Only having one safety spot? You got a fullback spot. How many teams have fullbacks? I'll answer that for you. 4. There's a Pro Bowl spot. Like, can you not have 2 safeties? Why are there 5 wide receivers on this team? But like, it's just dumb. It's the Pro Bowl. Let it die. If you want to watch them do like the old Superstar show, fine, that's fun. I watched it in a hotel once. Like, okay, this is cool. All right, I'm entertained. Playing dodgeball, tug of war. Okay. Like my son, I think he was 16 at the time, he and his friends were into it. So I get why they do it, but it's not worth getting frustrated about. But the individual awards, and this is, I'll go back to Jim Harbaugh for a second here. When he was coaching at Michigan, he had a lot of players that were really good candidates for individual awards. And one of the things that he consistently said was that this is a team award. And he got his players to believe that too, and they said it. And I think that's kind of where the Lions are at. Like, I don't think they're worried that Jared Goff might not be the MVP, or that, trying to think of some of the other guys. Like, Jahmyr Gibbs might not make All-Pro. I can't fathom that he wouldn't. He led the league in touchdowns, set the record, broke Barry Sanders' record, scored 4 on the biggest game of the season. But, I think this is a team that understands that it's team first. And because the team is so good, your individuals will get attention. But at the same time, because there's so many good individuals, it's more of like it waters down your individual candidacy, if that makes any sense. Hope I explained that right. It sounded right in my head when I thought about it. I don't know. Need a nap. One last topic that we'll get to, and I'll try to go through this as cleanly as I can. It's Black Monday. Guys got fired. I hate this day. Hate it. Always have. Whether it's your team or another team, guys lose their dream today. A lot of these guys that are getting fired with, I think we understood some of them, Doug Peterson and Jacksonville going away. He'll probably rise again somewhere. He's won a Super Bowl. But the quality control coach, your inside linebackers coach, those guys might be done in the NFL. And that's hard. Like, these are the coaching level, when I'm talking at the combine with people, it's that level of coach that I'm usually getting with, or guys who are moving into those roles. Yeah, like Sean Deion Hamilton with the Lions, or JT Barrett with the Lions. Kelvin Shepard was that once upon a time. Now we got to know Shep a little bit. It's hard to see those guys lose, but it does create opportunities for others, and that's obviously where the Lions come in, because they're not firing anybody. They're going to lose coaches, plural, almost assuredly. To where? I don't know. But I'll just say this. I think Aaron Glenn is the next coach of the New Orleans Saints. And more to the point, the Saints people that I've talked to, and that includes a couple of their most prominent beat writers. If you look at who I follow on Blue Sky and Twitter, X, you'll know who they are. If they follow me back, I talked to a lot of these guys. Got to know quite a few of them. in the transition period when Dan Campbell got hired, when we're like fishing for information, and Aaron Glenn too, like, what are they like? What are they all about? That type of thing. And you keep those building relationships. That's what we do. That's why we get paid meagerly to do what we do. I think Aaron Glenn's the coach. Who's he taking with him? Good question. Could be Kelvin Shepard, Louisiana native. Has had feelers put at him by a couple of college programs down there already. Not this year, not that I know of, anyways. But it's certainly possible that he takes him along. He could take along Sean Deion Hamilton. Take Terrell Williams with him as a defensive coordinator. Jim O'Neill has some experience as a coordinator at Northwestern. Didn't go very well. When has Northwestern football ever gone well outside of the peak Pat Fitzgerald era? So, and this is my way of saying there's going to be some losses, but look at all the names that I just named of guys who are rising, guys who are getting positive attention, guys who are worthy of promotions or consideration for promotions. Dan and Brad found all those guys. Don't be naive to think that they can't find more. Yeah, it'll be different. It might not work. Trey Bly's a great example. Didn't work. Big name, has some college pedigree to him. Although, if you go back in time, you will find several skeptics from Reddit, from various places, and I'll raise my hand tepidly because I was on the fence on that one. He actually didn't do a very good job at North Carolina coaching in his alma mater, and didn't coach very well in Detroit either. Great guy, great player, one of my favorite Lions ever. Didn't coach. But the Lions, one of the reasons why I love this regime, they're not afraid to acknowledge mistakes and get rid of them. You don't let that broken toe get rotten and gangrenous. Cut it off, you move on, you replace it. Get something bigger and better in. Try again. That's how Terrell Williams is on this coaching staff. There's a lot of really good coaches out there. Many of them never get the opportunity to show it with a stable organization or the right fit. I think this Lions regime is very good at identifying guys who can fit what they need to coax out the best in that coach. Offensive side of the ball, Ben Johnson. Going to hear a ton of stuff about him going to the Bears, maybe the Jaguars, probably not the Jets. I think Rex Ryan thinks he's getting that job. Sounds like Mike Vrabel's getting the Patriots job. One of the chats I'm in with a lot of various beat writers and draft writers. So actually post the question, anybody think Vrabel's not getting the job? And there's like 22 of us in this chat. Not a person said a thing. So sounds like Vrabel is there, but you never know. We'll see. They're certainly an interesting position because they have a young quarterback in Drake May. And I think what most people think, and I agree with this, is that Ben Johnson's going to want a quarterback, a smart organization around him that will empower him to be creative. He will want a good offensive line or the potential to get better at it. Opportunity to win right away. That outweighs the thought for Ben Johnson of leaving all this. This is a Lions team. I said it on the huge show, I'll say it again. This could very well be the worst Lions team of the next 3 or 4 years. Look at all the injuries that they had this year. All those guys are coming back. All the key players you want on this roster are coming back. Yeah, there's going to be a couple holes. They need at least one guard this offseason, although I think Christian Mahogany has proven that he can certainly be one of those guys. They're going to need some depth fill-ins on upgrades on defense. think we've trusted in Brad Holmes to find guys like that. Hopefully Ennis Rakestraw can get on the field. Be nice. Guy's talented. Fragile. He's talented. Well, they're going to have to replace some guys, but they've shown they can do that. Would you give all that up knowing that you could win multiple division titles and be a perennial contender for the Super Bowl with Jared Goff as your quarterback, with Amon-Ra, with Sam Laporta, with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, with Penei Sewell still being great, Frank Ragnow looking renewed by and large, J-Mo emerging. Good Lord. J-Mo got 1,000 yards and hardly anybody blinked. Remember the summer? We're talking like, I don't know, J-Mo can be wide receiver too. I don't know. Like, and look, I understood your skepticism, but he did it. He's not going to go anywhere. Let's hope all the off-field bull crap is done. I think he's getting there. Pray to God, knock on wood, everything. Like, there's the potential for this offense to be legendary. They can be talked about in the way that we talk about the greatest show on turf, or the Chargers under Air Coryell back when I was a kid in the late 70s and early 80s with Dan Fouts and Joyner, Jefferson, Chuck Muncie, all those guys. That potential's here. I don't think it's going to be easy for Ben Johnson to walk away from that. We'll say that I know if he's going, where he's going. I don't know. I'm not all that concerned about it. Maybe it's because, again, I'm confident that the Lions will find, this regime will find coaching talent and develop it the way that they have developed so many player talents. They've proven it with coaches. Ben Johnson was a failed tight ends coach. Nobody thought anything of him. Remember when Anthony Lynn got fired? And it was pretty clear to many of us, and I will nod to my co-host Chris here, who was very adamant about it, that Ben Johnson was getting the job. And people were like, I don't know, man. What's he done? It hasn't been crap. I don't know. Give me Joe Brady. Give me somebody. Give me somebody who's done something. Look what Ben Johnson is now, because they saw something in him. I don't think that vision's gone away. Do you? I don't know who Ben's going to take with him if he goes. Again, I don't know that he's going. Take Mark Brunell with him. Let's say they go to Jacksonville, like the one radio or podcast or whatever out of there suggests. Okay. JT Barrett, your new offensive coordinator or quarterbacks coach, passing game coach. Scotty Montgomery, a guy who should be getting more recognition as being the assistant head coach of this team and running backs coach and having considerable input into the offense. Maybe he goes to being the offensive coordinator if he doesn't get a head coaching job somewhere else. Certainly a possibility. Antoine Randall L., fantastic wide receivers coach. Hadn't proven a damn thing when he got to Detroit. They're like, oh, they're just hiring old players because they know the name and they hope that it'll wow the fans. Remember those conversations? 97-1 doesn't remember them having them, but they led them. That was petty. I'm sorry. Try not to be petty. One of my New Year's resolutions is to be less petty. So I apologize for that. I'm gonna try to be better. I really am. Yeah. The larger point, if they go, they go. Wish them well. Don't freak out. This team has proven they can find great coaching talent and development and make it work. And the strength of the culture is such that they're not going to panic and bring somebody in just because they have a name. It might not be anybody you've heard of. It might not be anybody I've heard of. They wind up being great. I look forward to that. I really do. With that, I'm going to take a nap for a while. Enjoy the Lions. Enjoy a bye week. I think we all can use it from our frayed nerves. As I was texting with Russ last night, I sat in my chair where I watched the game in my home office studio. I had been sitting there for over 2 hours. I had barely moved. My blood pressure was, my pulse rate was almost 120 consistently for a long time. Like, that's not healthy for me and my cow heart part. I'm glad that we get a respite. I'm looking forward to watching playoff football. I'm looking forward to getting some draft stuff going. For those of you who do still care about the draft, I will have an updated top 100 big board. And if you know me, you know I do top 103 because it makes it easier to find when people are copying you. When they say they have a top 100 and there's actually 103 on there. AI hadn't figured that out yet. Doubt they do. By the way, pro tip, you want to throw off AI, voice recognition, talk in a Southern accent, talk slowly, have weird inflections in your voice. Another thing I'm working on this year, fighting a good fight against AI, stealing all my jobs. I need all 4 of them. Oh, folks, I'm so damn excited about this team. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe so you know when I'm coming at you later this week. We're going to do a mailbag that'll probably have a little bit of draft stuff in it too. Injury news, certainly. Stay tuned to Dr. Liao. I know Russ and Bish are working on a thing. You're going to get a lot of content from us in the coming weeks. You'll want to be here for it. Thank you for letting me come into your ear holes. Automatically, you're not. Thanks.